to the music scene, showing lots of love for the community. With great advice, I know who I should go see. So all around town radio show, that's where I go for the latest band info. So
Hey everybody, good afternoon. Welcome to a nooner here at All Around Town Radio. It is Wednesday with the band. And without any further, man, joining me today at noon here on the live is our friends from White Knuckle Weekend. How y'all doing today, everybody?
Hey, Scott.
Let's see. I've got Billy and Stephanie on the couch. It's like Dr. Phil today. I like that. All right. And Billy is recouping. I said earlier on the show, like this week, we were talking about knees today. That's what we're going to talk about. Billy's recovering from a knee replacement, so it's good to have you with us. Brian in the vehicle in parts unknown. Who knows where he is?
I'm in Springboro on my lunch break.
Well, you're not far from us then.
No.
He's sitting in a park somewhere.
Yep.
It worries me when Brian sits alone in a park, but we won't talk about that. And Chad is there coming to us from the kitchen, it looks like. How are you, Chad?
Good. How are you?
Good. It's great to have you all with us today, guys. And we're going to talk White Knuckle Weekend, which is one of my favorite bands to get out and see. You guys got so much energy. I love that about your band. You put together a show that I think everybody can enjoy from 8 to 80. You know, I mean, you play a variety of music. And anytime I'm at one of your shows, one of the things I notice is your interaction with the crowd. You guys getting out, working the audience, and them coming up close, especially ones like when you play Mr. Burroughs and that, where the audience is basically dancing on your equipment up front. And you guys get an opportunity to really wow that crowd. How did this whole thing come about? I mean, we've talked before, but for those that are watching the show today that may not know you, how did White Knuckle Weekend become a project?
Brian, you want me to take that?
Go for it.
All right. So we Brian and I originally were in Full Frontal together. That lasted with Brian about 6 months, unfortunately. With me, I stayed for about 3 years.
Wow, Brian. All right.
I know. Well, it's all right. We something I had to move on from too is just we got too popular and it was too much for me, and so I decided to leave the band. And then Brian gets a hold of me about 2 months later and says, "Hey man, what are you doing?" I said, "What do you mean?" So let's start a band. I was like, "Okay, cool." So he had already a drummer lined up. We needed a bass player. Chad comes in, and boom, we got White Knuckle Weekend.
And I want to hit on something you said there. It got too much. I see that a lot in the music business here locally. People, they get popular and they're like, "Oh, we got to play 4 nights a week. We got to do this," or "We're playing every Saturday and Friday all month long." And they don't have any family life then. By the time you set up, you get your sound check in, all that, it takes a whole day out of your life.
Full-time job goes with that too, man.
Yeah, you're working too, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we all know the band gigs, they don't pay enough half the time for anybody to be a full-time musician. If you are, you're playing 5 nights a week all over the place as much as you can. So that can really be a battle when you have a good, popular band like you guys are. And do you get a lot of requests to play that you have to maybe just say, let's narrow that to maybe once or twice a year at your spot instead of every month or 2 months? Do you have to do that?
As a band, we have talked about that. We are now going to limit our gigs to about 2 months next year is what we're doing. So bringing it back.
And I think that's good for crowd business too, because some people oversaturate, I believe, and if they play too much in one location, the crowd starts to just get used to calling your set list kind of and things like that. So I do believe bouncing around. And, you know, I've noticed some of our friends, and you guys are all friends with these people, such as like Shane DeMoss, who has several projects going. He's branched out and is playing further and further away from home, which also poses an issue because of drive time and all that, especially on the way home at night. But it's interesting to see how all this evolves. And you guys say you started this band just basically kind of on Brian's phone call. So, Brian, tell me what made you want, after you left the band you were in, what made you want to pick up and pull another project off?
I mean, I just love doing this. I've been through all my various bands. I've been playing and gigging regularly since 2008 in the Dayton area. So a lot of times in town, bands evolve into other bands. So a band will break up, a couple people will want to stick together. So like Billy said, I actually ended up in Full Frontal because of Billy and the bass player at the time, Mark Bianchi, had both reached out to me when that band was starting. They needed a lead player, and they brought me in. So I joined that, and I had known Billy for years. So things didn't work out. Personality issues, I'll just leave it at that, between myself and some folks in there, not Billy. And so I went off and kind of put another band together. That gigged for a couple years, and then that band fell apart. The drummer in that band I was in at the time, Jim George, and I wanted to stick together and put a new band together. And I knew Billy was recently a free agent, so we and as the hardest, I honestly think the hardest thing to find in a local band is a really good front man. There's a lot of people who can sing. There's a lot of people who are entertaining. There are very, very few people in town that are both. So, right away when I knew Billy was free, I told Jim, I was like, I know a guy. As long as he's free, I know a guy. So it's just, I always have wanted to keep doing this. So as one project would fold or something, my mind immediately goes to, all right, what's next?
Well, and that's interesting. You say those kind of things because as musicians, you're drawn to it. Everybody knows if you're a performer and a musician, you never really want to step aside permanently. Either the people that do that are typically just burn out totally and they're done. But for you guys, you want to put this together, and so you put it together, and then different players come in and out. And Stephanie has recently joined the band. I shouldn't, recently is not a good term because it's been a while, but Stephanie's in there. And she's also, I saw Melissa pop up here in the comments. So she's also in Finding Melissa, which I dearly love.
Hey, Missy.
Another one of those great bands out there that has its own unique style and charisma for folks. But Stephanie, you joined us, and Chad, I want to get to you on something in just a second. But Stephanie, while we've got you here, because I don't know if you're here the whole time or not, Stephanie, why join a band with someone you're in the same house with every day?
And sometimes I feel guilty for saying this, but we are blissfully, happily married. And so there really isn't anything that we don't like to do together. And actually it was, everybody practices in our basement. So at the time I was with Crying Out Loud, and I would hear them practicing in the basement, and I'm like, oh, they need my harmony on that. So it just kind of happened sort of naturally.
Well, you're a great addition to the band, by the way, and I like what it's added because, like you said, these guys get up there and they rock it. I mean, White Knuckle Weekend, they were doing that forever. But you stepped in and it brought a new dynamic to the stage and some different songs that you guys can pull off. Because, I mean, let's face it, Billy can do chick songs, but it just doesn't work for me. I like to hear Stephanie's voice up there, and then the compliments that she gets from the audience too, because people love those harmonies that Stephanie adds. And in Finding Melissa, if you've never seen them guys, you want to see harmonies, go see those two. They're some of the best in town on that. Let me move down to Chad. Chad, you're also the guy there that's doing sound. You're the guy playing bass, and you've got a solid bass style, man. You do a really good job up there, but you're also always stepping out front, I notice, and you're really focused on how well you guys sound to the audience and your sound quality. And a lot of bands don't do that. So, without having a sound man some nights, which you do, you're the sound guy. So how do you play those two roles?
It's a balancing act. I never ran live audio before I got into this band. Some people buy a sports car for their midlife crisis. I bought a PA. And just kind of figured it out along the way. And, it means I'm the first one in, the last one out every show, but I knew that when I signed up for it. it's been a learning experience and a lot of fun. I always wanted to get more into the live audio side. And like I said, it is a balancing act, and some nights are better than others, but I've got us dialed in pretty well at this point, and it's it's a good thing to be able to just bring it all up on a laptop and pick up from where we stopped on the last show. So it's a little tweaking here and there in order to get us dialed in for every show, but it's not too bad for the most part.
Yeah, it obviously becomes easier show after show, I think, for you, and especially rooms that you're used to playing. You know how to dial in for that room and all that. Yep. But I wanted to compliment you on the sound quality, because when you are running sound, and I'm one that we say a lot on our shows, especially the Tuesday shows, every band that plays a lot needs a sound guy, because it's hard to run from the stage. You're one of the guys that does it well. Some bands not so well from the stage, because they don't get out and focus on it and listen and see what's happening in the room, because a room at sound check is totally different than a room that's full of screaming woo girls in the background and all that stuff. So
no doubt.
How about those lights, Scott?
How about what?
I gotta say, the last show, I was able to get some really good pictures of you guys, and
so our running joke, since we decided to upgrade our light show, I kept telling everyone, I said, Scott Hall better recognize all these new lights, because he would always comment about how we needed more lights because it was hard to photograph us. I'm like, there better not be any complaints now.
Well, and I'll tell you, I had a great time with the folks from Britches Down at the Moose last week. The lighting in there, though, every time I'm there for a band, the Mooses put a lot of their own lighting in. They've got all this lighting, but it tends to be like all red, all blue, and man, it's hard to get photographs, and it was every photograph I took, I looked at when I got home to post them the next day was, man, they're all red. It looks like I'm in a sea of red. So you guys really upgraded your lighting. I'm sorry I cost your budget that, but
it was worth it.
You've done a good thing there. And guys, if you're watching today, please drop us a comment if you have a comment for White Knuckle Weekend, any of these folks, or have a question for them. Even if you're watching after we're live, they're going to share it on their page. They'll see the comments pop up. So please do so. Hi, Sean Cooper from Milano's.
Oh, hi, Sean.
He's checking in here at noon with us. He loves White Knuckle Weekend and Finding Melissa, he said. Sean and I were just talking about Finding Melissa together. And also Hollywood from... I had lunch with him yesterday from down at Hamilton's Urban Backyard. He couldn't say enough of good things about you guys, Stephanie. So we're getting some shameless plugs in for Finding Melissa today, too. So
shameless plugging.
Your set list, I'm going to go there. Wow. It is a really good set list. And now people that know me know when I see a band sometimes and I don't have anything really good to say because I've gone out, I say, oh, they had a good set list. I don't mean it that way. Your set list is absolutely the bomb. I mean, it appeals to so many people, and you'll have the crowd up in a fever pitch on the dance floor. And the next thing you know, Billy's out there with a microphone working the audience, getting them to sing along, and Brian's going mobile on the guitar and all those things. That's a cool package. How do you determine how to run that set list up and bring those people to that fever pitch and then kind of bring them back down for a break and all that? How do you guys determine that?
I'll tell you what, Stephanie spends 3 hours on the set list. She's so anal about it.
Yeah.
Knowing exactly the pattern of the songs and breaks, and it drives me nuts sometimes because she takes so much time, effort, but it has to be right. And it works, man. It really works.
Well, and that now I can see why you guys added Stephanie to the band. You took the workload off of you guys and put it on her on making the set list. All right, that's how it works. But you know what? Who has say so? Do you all have say so in a song? Like, we want to play this song or we don't want to play this song? Or do you determine like that song really bombed last night or whatever? Do we take that out of the set list?
Go ahead, Brian.
Come on, Brian.
I mean, it is fairly collaborative. A lot of times I know, and like Billy mentioned, I'll tell Steph not to take the set list so seriously, because she'll run a lot of times she'll run stuff by me. Hey, what do you think about this? She'll make sure check with me, make sure like songs and certain tunings are grouped together. Yeah, it is pretty collaborative. Once in a while, I'll shoot her a message and be like, hey, why was that song not on there? And usually the response is, well, Billy doesn't want to do it tonight. So. So no, but yeah, it really is collaborative, coming up with new songs. We all throw out ideas. When we try stuff new, we'll get in our group chat, or at the next practice we'll, all right, what did you guys notice on this one? How'd you guys feel about that one? So we all very much want to be on the same page, instead of one person deciding, well, I didn't like that one, so we're not doing it.
I'm glad you said that as well, because so many people that come in and see live music, they don't understand the actual methodology of it, and the fact that there is drop D tuning, there's step down, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't be tuning all night back and forth between each song. So I think that's important to say, that people have to understand those songs are grouped together so that you can stay in that tuning and then move up or move down or whatever you need to do.
Yep.
And the common person who's dancing on the dance floor doesn't realize that's even happening most of the time. But you guys make it work. And what I love is the energy, and even the smiles make it happen. And yes, Billy makes that energy. Thanks for wearing that shirt, Billy, by the way. The energy that you guys exude is amazing. And I want to talk about Chad for a second, though, on that, because Chad's probably the most laid back guy on the stage you have.
Yep.
But when people come up, he connects with them with this smile that just sucks people into the stage. I mean, it's really funny how it works. And I always say that about him. He's one of those guys that you just want to hang out with, because he's smiling, he's having a good time. How you doing? Waving. He can take his hand off the bass for a minute and wave, and
Chad is single, so
that explains it.
Yeah.
All right.
And ready to mingle.
There's a method behind the madness. What can I say?
Chad's working the magic up there is what he's doing. Yes, he's working the magic. But Chad, I do want to compliment you on that. You're just one of those guys that is a pleasure to look at. You're not that stoic bass player who stands in the corner and stares like, he's been doing this for 100 years. Why does that come to you? I mean, how do you feel? Is that just something natural for you as a person?
It's based on the energy in the moment, I suppose. I've been in outfits where it's, I do become that stoic bass player in the background or whatever, but I can't do that in this band. There's, it's too much fun, too much excitement, and it's too enjoyable to just stand there like a statue and do nothing but play. So, yeah.
And you know what? I see you guys a lot at the local places around me here at Heather's. I see you at Mr. Burroughs. I always refer to Chad as the restroom attendant at Mr. Burroughs, because he stands on the corner where everybody goes in to go to the restrooms. And he's like the greeter there, the Walmart greeter of restrooms. Hi, everybody. How you doing? As they walk by and go in and come back out. You're in an interesting position there, Chad, where they put you guys. But you and the band, and I just can't say enough about this energy that comes off the stage. And everybody seems to point at Billy about the energetic frontman, but it's a whole band deal. The Halloween night, you guys were having so much fun in your costumes and doing that stuff. Does it take a lot of practice to put this together? I mean, do you guys practice a lot, or do you just say, let's just let her rip and do it?
Yeah, I'll say something about that. When we come together with songs, in fact, we've got to practice Sunday. We're going to have 3 new songs. We're going to come together. We're going to be ready to go. And in 30 minutes, we'll have them knocked out. We may run through them 2 or 3 times, and then we'll get, print it, put it in the show.
That's
So
the code word.
that's,
print.
yeah. Print.
Is that code word for it's ready?
Yep.
Yeah. So we're looking at new stuff for Stephanie to highlight. We're going to bring her up front even more than what she already is. Take a little bit off of me, but I'm learning how to harmonize on her now, which is something I haven't done ever in my entire life. I mean, I never started singing until about 9 years ago, but listening to her, it's been inspirational to learn how to do those background vocals.
I find 9 years ago hard to believe.
Well, thank you.
The reason I say that, though, is everywhere I am with you, if I bump into you somewhere and we sit together and we watch another band, man, you're singing along. I bet you were singing along to every band you ever went to see years ago. You just didn't put it on stage yet, because
that's probably right.
Or Stephanie will admit you sing in the shower a lot, one or the other. She's not going to answer that, perhaps. Hey, there's Mike. Hi, Mike. How are you? He says, always fun locking in with Chad, my brother. All right. Thank you, Mike. And drumming Mike there. It's good to see you popping in. So let's move to a different thing here. Inspirations in your life, people. who inspires you in music? I'm going to start with Stephanie, the newest member of the band.
Pretty much anything harmony. I love the Eagles. I love the Beatles. I love hair bands like Slaughter and Cinderella. Then I have my guilty pleasure, Jude Cole, which a lot of people probably don't know, but Jude Cole, he had a hit called "Start the Car," and I just love him. I just ask my phone to play Jude Cole kind of obsessively, so just like it.
How about you, Billy?
I started off with Genesis, Phil Collins. I was with Foreigner, Billy Idol, of course, Billy Joel. Anywhere and everywhere. Stained, Puddle of Mud. I like some of the harder stuff too. When I was, in the '90s, I kind of like that.
Oh, you have interjected a little of that into the band too, haven't you? I noticed you're playing a few more of those songs. Yeah, Chad, how about you, man? What do you like inspiration wise?
Growing up, I listened to a lot of progressive rock, especially Rush. That was a huge early influence. Not just Geddy, but the whole band. And I used to like to check out a lot of people that were being highlighted in guitar magazines during the 80s. So I got exposed to Jocko and Zappa and all those kind of people pretty early on. Had a little hair band stretch that I'm not too willing to admit, but I'll do it here. But then, got into more metal type stuff, Pantera and all that kind of stuff growing up. But, I'll listen to anything that moves me, I'm not picky, but there's definitely stuff that I shy away from. I like rhythm sections, obviously, good tight rhythm sections, regardless of the genre. So stuff like that.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, when you had me at Rush, and then you don't ever have to be embarrassed about hairband era for me. I mean, that's right in my wheelhouse, man. Although your hair is not matching it today, Chad. I will say
I can show you some pictures.
I want to see those pictures. I do. I get to dress up that way once in a while at one of my 80s events. I get to put on the old zebra stripe pants and the wig, and I have a flashback of the old bus stop days back when the boys like Dirk Turner were playing in the Battle of the Bands, and Chip and Joey and all those guys that you guys all know. So, Brian, how about you over there, man? What's musical influence for you?
I grew up in a musical family. My mom's whole side of the family, almost everyone's a musician. My grandfather played button box accordion and harmonica. My aunt plays 17 different instruments. Everyone sings. So from a young age, family reunions, holidays, everyone would just bring guitars, banjos, whatever. So I was pulled into it from a very young age. Kind of like Chad, I've listened to everything. I've gone through phases of progressive rock and jazz and blues. These days I'm inspired within my own household. I married a musician. I'm the least talented musician in my house. So my wife has a music degree. She was an opera singer and a jazz singer, and my kids, both sing in musicals and stuff like that. So I'm constantly hearing my wife and my daughter and stuff singing around the house. So anytime I hear my wife sing, I just think, there are a lot of body parts I would give to have 1% of that ability, on guitar as she has, like, vocally and stuff like that. So yeah, it's always inspiring. Nice when the inspiration comes from within.
So I'll ask you another follow-up then. What's your favorite solo song to do on guitar where you do a lead solo?
For me to play?
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite solo it might be Let's Go Crazy. The ending of that one's always fun. It might be, and then you're gonna like this, it might be Don't Tell Me You Love Me.
Well,
that always seems to be the one that I get. That's the one
that's my favorite.
Usually that's the one at the end, like, people are applauding and howling and that kind of stuff. So probably that one.
You shred that, man. I got to say that. You do. You shred that one. Chad, anything where you interject a bass solo into any of these songs that you prefer to do each night?
Not really, no.
Chad's a man of few words, isn't he?
Yep.
Chad throws in some tasty fills and stuff like that here and there, because there's a couple times every show where I like shoot over and I shoot a smile at him like, oh, I heard that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. Favorite song to sing, Billy Sutterlin?
Ooh.
Oh, I know. Yeah. So Sugar Going Down is a good one. I love doing that. Faith, which we throw in there about every other show. I mean, there's so many good ones. One of my favorite things is putting a microphone in somebody's face and having them sing to me what they think the words are. I will lose my stuff on some of the stuff that they sing back to me in that microphone, and it cracks me up.
We could do a whole show on mistaken lyrics.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So great. Stephanie, how about you? You have a favorite song to sing?
Oh,
I know what we like to hear her sing.
I know.
Highway to Hell is just unbelievable.
Oh man.
Yep.
Yeah.
She kills that.
Boy, I don't know. I mean, I've done What's Up in every band I've been in. And so it's kind of like a feature song for me. And it's fun. I like it's a challenging vocal, so I enjoy it. I think the more challenging the vocal, the more fun it is to sing.
Thank God you didn't say Tennessee Whiskey. Thank you so much.
I don't think I've
You'll
ever
never hear
sang
that out of this band.
Yeah.
No, that one's getting so overplayed everywhere I go. We joke about it all the time on the show, but it's just, I've heard R&B bands go from Sade to Tennessee Whiskey all in the same set. So a little interesting, but I guess it's what people want to hear. You know, it's popular, but I can only hear the George Jones version, even though Chris Stapleton did great. But we'll leave that alone. Let's move on about White Knuckle Weekend. We got a few minutes left. I had up on the screen here. They can find you on Facebook at White Knuckle Weekend. Does that contain your schedule as well and events and such that you're playing?
Yes.
It does. Our banner has our schedule in there. We have pretty much 25 filled out. We got a couple of shows that we're holding out for at the moment. So we're about rounded out, though.
Thank you,
It's amazing now how the clubs and bars are booking August for 25 December, right? It's crazy. I mean, you got to get in sooner and sooner every year. But
yeah, and man, some people book so soon that what I see happening by August or so, bands are broken up by then. It's like, yeah, that happens. I mean, and they're scrambling for a band. I booked these guys back in 2024 for 2025, and now they're not a band anymore. And that happens. It does. It's unfortunate, but you know, as Brian said earlier in the program, personalities come into play when you're that tight with a band. And let's hit on a couple quick things about that. Setting up. When you guys go to set up the show,
Steph's
you got to go.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Bye, Steph.
Setting up. Is it a collaborative effort for everyone? I mean, do you make that as a band project, or does Billy walk in with his mic at the last second and step on stage? Is what I want to know.
Yeah, Billy. Why don't you talk about that?
Damn diva singers.
The floor is yours, Billy.
My work schedule gets me to the venue about 20 minutes before the show, usually. Now, I am pretty good about breaking down and helping unload or load out. So I will say that.
Who sets the PA up? Is that Chad?
Yep.
Chad.
That's me.
Chad, man, hats off to you, brother, because that is a job. Trust me. For those that don't know, that's a job. And I just wanted to hit on that for a minute because so many times, and I get the work schedule thing, Billy, but so many times bands have some tensions because of who loads out, who loads in, that builds tensions in the band, or who does all the booking, who does the this, that, and the other to divide those duties. So it can be tough to manage a band. It's like managing a family. I mean, and the families make up and break up and do all those things. You guys seem to have a great cohesion on stage, though. Everybody looks at you as you guys are having fun. And like Brian said, looks over at Chad and smiles like, great Phil. And, you see a lot of that. It's not just going through the motions. So does that take a lot of thought process, or is it just you're just a great bunch of personalities that have come together?
There's no thought.
Yeah, there isn't.
No, I mean, it's very natural. I've never had to, go to Chad or Mike or Steph and be like, hey, you need to be more energetic on stage, or you need to do that. We've never had to have those discussions at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gotcha. Well, and I'm glad to hear you say that, because it comes off that way. It comes off as a very natural occurrence up there that you guys all hit it off and get along and do those things. Let me pop one more thing up here again. We'll get this on Facebook, guys. If you haven't followed White Knuckle Weekend, and we know a lot of you aren't watching at noon, you're going to watch this afterwards. Please drop us a comment. If you have a comment about White Knuckle Weekend, if you've seen one of their shows, throw them a little compliment in the comments, if you will, too. Let them know you're out there and you got to see this thing today. A couple more questions and we're out of here, guys, because I know you guys got to get back to what you're doing, and so do I. So let's take my question I always give everyone, and it's the one we give at the end of every show. I'm going to start with Brian in the corner. If you could take the stage with any musical artist, past or present, and play music with them, who would it be?
Oh man, it would be. Can I say a tie? I mean, it would. Yeah. It would be Eddie Van Halen, Jimi Hendrix.
Eddie Van Halen.
Jimi Hendrix. Yeah.
There you go. I don't know why there's a thumb popping up on Billy. Do you see that, Billy?
There's a thumb?
I saw it.
Some like a weird thumb like emoji like coming up on you.
Oh, that's weird. Okay.
A bubble. Thumb bubble. I don't know. So all right, there's yours, Brian. Chad, you've had a moment to think. Who would it be?
I don't know about any specific artist, but I've always wanted to be involved in like a big R&B funk kind of band with a large horn section and something of that nature. Specific artists, I really don't know. It's more of a genre-based type thing as far as who I'd like to, bucket list type of band situation. I think that would be a lot of fun. I could get into that for sure.
Oh, yeah. Put me up there with Earth, Wind, and Fire and Verdine on the bass. I mean, I'd be happy as a clam just to be on stage with those guys, man.
My ex-father-in-law was heavily involved with a lot of the West Side funk and R&B that was coming out of the West Side of Dayton in the 60s and 70s. A lot of that type of genre just blows me away. I'd love to be involved with something like that for sure.
Have you been to the Funk Museum in Dayton, by the way?
You know what? I have not. I'm ashamed to say that I haven't.
We need to take a trip there, Chad. Let's go, because I am in that era as well. I loved Lakeside and Slave and all those people that were here from Dayton, Ohio players. There's some great players. I spent some time in Troutman Sound Labs on Salem Avenue.
Oh, nice.
I can say I was the only white guy in the place, by the way. Yeah, that was cool. And it was cool that they welcomed me in there too, because it was a pretty close-knit group back then. They were very territorial when it came to their music but funk is a great era. And I love funky bass players too. We all know some. My
ex-father-in-law was involved in the recording of Sun's album called Sunburn at Cybertechnics Recording Studios. And cool. I love hearing his stories about that period and time and everything that was going on. But yeah, I guess
a lot of clubs back then catering to that type of music too. That was the cool part as well. Sure. All right, I got to go to Billy up here in the corner. We're running out of time, but Billy, lay it on me, man. Who would you take the stage with?
You know what? I don't feel worthy enough to even consider putting myself on stage next to anybody. Somebody I never got to see perform was Prince. I've seen Phil Collins a couple of different times. I'd love to go see him again. Bryan Adams all by himself on stage with a guitar and his boots, unbelievable. Stuff like that.
You said Phil Collins. I gotta throw a little shameless plug in for my friends from Genesis Retouched, and they're about to do a show at Memorial Hall in Cincinnati. And let me tell you, if you know Adam Wheeler, who plays drums, and Evan's brother, who Evan's in Last Call, but Adam does the front man stuff for Phil Collins. You will think you are standing there at the Phil Collins era of Genesis. It's that good, and the players they put together. So if you like that, Billy, go check that out. Yeah, check that out. That's a good one. They're going to be traveling across the country, I guarantee you, very soon.
Yep.
So that kind of wraps it up today, guys. We've run a little over on our time, and I know some of you, Brian's probably got to go back to work, and that he's on his lunch break at a park unknown in Springboro. If you want to go find him and get an autograph real quick, folks, get out there. We'll play Where's Brian like Where's Waldo today. And
I'm Billy, at that park of Pioneer. Whatever part
Oh,
that is.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Billy, you're coming back from that knee, right?
Yep. It's been a couple.
How soon you back to the stage?
So we had a show the 23rd. We've asked our friends from FM and the Contenders to take over that spot for us at Kings Point coming up on the 23rd. So December 7th will be at Cats. That's our next show. I'll be ready to go.
Good stuff. And I had to laugh the other day. I saw Dirk Turner had the best post today. He said white knuckle wheelchair or white knuckle walker or something like that. I thought it's a good one for you right now. I'm glad you're recouping, man. It was great to connect with you here because we had an opening on the show and Billy and I were talking. He's like, man, I'm bored. I was checking to see how he was doing. And says, I'm bored. I said, well, how about we unboard you for about a half hour on Wednesday and bring you on here? And it's grown into the band show, which I love. And I can't thank you guys enough for both the fine entertainment you put on in the area and the fun I have every time I'm at one of your shows. And I can't thank you enough for being here today and sharing some of your stories with us. I wish we had 2 hours to talk because we could talk music for much longer than that.
Bro, every time you walk in
anything
through,
else?
We love it.
Anything else you want to share, guys, before we go today?
I mean, we just appreciate all your continued support, Scott. It's always great to see you out. You always have kind things to say about us, and this is our second time on this show. We're very appreciative of that.
Yeah,
well, I thank you.
Sure.
It means a lot to every one of us. I know. We talk about you behind your back. It's all good.
I hope not bad, but yes. Well, I appreciate y'all. And guys, I want to remind the viewers that are watching either live or afterwards today that we will be back with you tomorrow at 5:00 featuring our program called Who's Playing Out. It's brought to you by our friends at Heather's Cafe. And it brings you the best musicians and venues in the tri-state and who's playing all week long. So tune into that. And again, I've been here with White Knuckle Weekend. Guys, thank you all so much. We appreciate you for being here.
Thanks,
Stick with me for a minute. Stick with me till we go off the air here. You can find all our programming at All Around Town Radio, our Monday weekend updates. Then we'll bring you Tuesday Hot Topic with Karis and Wednesday with the band right here.
Working for the weekend, and I want to see a show. I flip on the book of face. Yeah, I know where to